No-Eyes Nora, terrifying tale from Reddit. The application form was crumpled in my pocket, a testament to how many times I'd considered throwing it away. Night security, Havenwood Historical Society. It sounded like something out of a bad movie, but rent was due, and my options were dwindling faster than my savings. Havenwood was a blink, and you'll miss it. Town nestled deep in the woods of New England. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and the local diner served as both gossip hub and community center. I wasn't from here. I was just passing through, trying to escape a past I wasn't particularly proud of. The Historical Society looked exactly as you'd imagine. A looming Victorian mansion, all gables and Gothic windows, with a lawn overgrown enough to hide a small car. The kind of place that screamed, "Don't come in," unless you enjoy being creeped out. Mr. Hemlock, the curator, was an old guy who looked like he hadn't seen the sun in decades. His skin was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes were magnified behind thick glasses. He rambled about preserving history and protecting artifacts, his voice a dry rustle of leaves. "Just make your rounds every hour," he said, handing me a flashlight the size of a small cannon. "Make sure all the doors and windows are locked. And be respectful." He paused, his gaze unnervingly intense. "Some items here are sensitive. They hold echoes of the past." He then muttered something about No-Eyes Nora and how she was just a local legend, nothing to worry about. He quickly dismissed it, changed the subject, and ushered me out the door. The first few nights were uneventful. The silence was deafening, broken only by the creaks and groans of the old house settling. I spent my time reading, catching up on sleep, and trying to ignore the feeling that I was being watched. I even started to enjoy the isolation. It was a welcome escape from the noise and chaos of my life. Then things started to get weird. It started subtly. A flickering light bulb in the hallway, a door that I was sure I'd locked now standing slightly ajar. The kind of things you could easily explain away. The house was old, the wiring was probably faulty, and maybe I just hadn't locked the door properly. But then I started hearing things. Whispers in the dark, like someone was standing just behind me, speaking in a language I didn't understand. Footsteps on the stairs when I knew I was alone. One night, I found a display case rearranged. A collection of antique dolls, their glassy eyes staring blankly ahead, were now positioned in a circle around a miniature coffin. I remember thinking, okay, this is definitely not my imagination. During the day, I saw Sarah, a woman who volunteered at the Historical Society. She had bright, curious eyes and a genuine enthusiasm for history. I casually mentioned the strange occurrences, trying to play it off as a joke. "This place has a reputation," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Havenwood's full of ghost stories. You heard about No-Eyes Nora, right?" I told her about Hemlock's brief mention. "Nora, her real name was Eleanor," Sarah said. "She lived here in the late 1800s. She was brutally murdered. Her eyes were taken. They never found the killer. Local legend said she haunted the woods, searching for her eyes, seeking revenge." Sarah admitted she didn't really believe in ghosts, but the stories were unsettling nonetheless. That night, the activity escalated. I was making my rounds when I saw it. A fleeting glimpse of a figure in the periphery, a woman standing in the hallway, shrouded in shadow. I swung my flashlight around, but she was gone. The temperature dropped suddenly, a bone-chilling cold that seeped into my marrow. The whispers returned, louder this time, more insistent. I could almost make out words, but they were twisted and distorted, like a record playing backward. I started seeing things out of the corner of my eye. Shadows that moved when I wasn't looking directly at them, faces peering out from the portraits on the walls. I started to doubt my sanity. Was I imagining all this? Was the isolation getting to me? Sleep became a luxury I could barely afford. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. The woman in the shadows, her face obscured, her empty eye sockets burning into my mind. Sarah did some digging. She found old newspaper articles, coroner's reports, and handwritten accounts of the murder. The details were gruesome, and the stories painted a picture of a town gripped by fear. One account mentioned a small, hidden room in the Historical Society, a place where Nora supposedly kept a collection of strange artifacts, trinkets, and mementos connected to her life. The room was never found. I started searching the historical society, driven by a desperate need to understand what was happening, to find some kind of explanation for the terror that was consuming me. Then came the night of the storm. The wind howled like a banshee, rattling the windows and shaking the very foundations of the house. Lightning illuminated the sky, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. The power went out, plunging the historical society into complete darkness. I fumbled for my flashlight, my heart pounding in my chest. The whispers were deafening now, swirling around me like a vortex. I felt a presence, a cold, malevolent energy that filled the room. Then I saw her. Standing at the end of the hallway, bathed in the flickering light of the lightning, was the figure from my nightmares. A woman, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes gone. Just empty sockets, staring accusingly at me. I froze, paralyzed by fear. She glided towards me, her movements unnaturally smooth, her bare feet silent on the wooden floor. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I stumbled backward, tripping over a rug and falling to the floor. She was upon me, her cold breath on my face. I could smell the scent of decay, of earth and rot. "Give them back," she whispered, her voice a raspy, guttural sound that seemed to vibrate through my bones. "Give me back my eyes." I didn't know what she was talking about. I had nothing to do with her stolen eyes. She lunged, her spectral hands reaching for my face. I closed my eyes, bracing for the pain, the horror. But it never came. Instead, I felt a surge of energy, a force that pushed me backward, away from her. I opened my eyes and saw her flickering, fading, as if she were a candle being snuffed out. Then, she was gone. I scrambled to my feet, my body trembling, my mind reeling. I had to get out of there. I ran through the dark corridors, blindly searching for an exit. The house seemed to be playing tricks on me, twisting and turning, leading me back to the same places. Finally, I stumbled upon a hidden door, concealed behind a bookshelf. I pushed it open and found myself in a small, dusty room. The room from the legends. It was filled with strange artifacts, old photographs, dried flowers, locks of hair, and a collection of porcelain dolls. In the center of the room, on a small altar, was a velvet-lined box. I hesitated, then reached out and opened it. Inside, nestled on a bed of silk, were 2 glass eyes. I slammed the box shut, a wave of nausea washing over me. This was it. This was what she wanted. The room began to shake, the walls closing in. The whispers returned, louder than ever, filled with rage and despair. I grabbed the box and ran, bursting out of the hidden room and back into the main hallway. I didn't know why, but I knew I had to destroy those eyes. I ran to the fireplace in the main hall and threw the box into the flames. The fire flared up, burning with an unnatural intensity. The whispers turned into screams, a chorus of anguish and pain. Then, silence. The storm subsided as quickly as it had begun. The power flickered back on, illuminating the historical society in a cold, sterile light. I collapsed on the floor, exhausted, traumatized, and utterly terrified. The police arrived shortly after, responding to my frantic 911 call. Detective Reynolds, a weary-looking man with tired eyes, listened to my story with a mixture of skepticism and concern. He found evidence of the struggle, overturned furniture, broken objects, but dismissed my claims of a ghostly encounter as a hallucination brought on by stress and sleep deprivation. I was taken to the hospital, where I was treated for exhaustion and exposure. Sarah visited me, her face pale with worry. I told her about the hidden room, the eyes, and the confrontation with Nora. She listened intently, her initial skepticism slowly giving way to a look of dawning realization. "I found something," she said, "an old town record. It mentioned that after Nora's murder, her eyes were never recovered. The killer, he was rumored to be obsessed with collecting strange things." She paused, her voice trembling. "He worked at the Historical Society." I spent the next few days recovering, trying to make sense of what had happened. I knew I couldn't stay in Havenwood. The memories, the nightmares, they would haunt me forever. I went back to the Historical Society to collect my things. Detective Reynolds was there, examining the aftermath of the storm. "We found something interesting," he said, his voice low. "In the fireplace. Fragments of glass. They're sending them to the lab for analysis." He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of pity and suspicion. "You know, Mark, this town has a lot of stories. Some people say they're just that. Stories. But others believe they're more than that." I didn't say anything. I just packed my bag and walked out of the Havenwood Historical Society for the last time. A week later, I was driving down the highway, heading away from Havenwood, trying to put the whole ordeal behind me. I glanced at the rearview mirror and saw a news alert on my phone. Reports of strange sightings near Havenwood. My stomach dropped. Then I looked back at the rearview mirror. In the distance, a dark, grainy figure stood on the shoulder, illuminated by the setting sun. It looked like a woman. And though I couldn't make out details, I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that she had no eyes. I accelerated, my heart pounding in my chest. I drove faster and faster, putting as much distance as possible between myself and Havenwood and No-Eyes Nora. But I knew, deep down, that it wouldn't matter. She wasn't tied to the house, or even the town. She was something else entirely, something ancient and malevolent, and she was coming for me.